Okay, good afternoon, everyone. This is the Child Care Subcommittee meeting on April 8th, 2026, 3:41 p.m. We have one bill for consideration, HB 1574. This bill has amendments that I'm going to now refer to Alistair to discuss the bill as it came in and the amendments.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the bill as it came in was kind of an omnibus bill that did many, many things to the regulation of childcare providers, both those who are family childcare homes and who operate childcare centers. One thing it did was duplicative of Senate Bill 359 and House Bill 635, Delegate Miller's bill on creating a centralized background unit. It also created a sort of regulatory grace period during which in the first year of a new regulation being adopted that regulated one of those industries, that if there was someone who violated a newly adopted regulation, they would get a warning for their first violation of that newly adopted regulation, and then subsequent warnings would have subsequent violations would have subsequent actions. It also, tell me if I'm way too slow and too much stuff, I'll happily try to abbreviate a little bit. It also created a new process for violations that would lead to reduction in Maryland Excel's quality ratings, and made changes to certain current regulations about how student emergency contact information has to be maintained by child care centers and family child care homes, how child care teachers, the training they're required to take, and some other things. There was, at the end of the bill, a study task force created to study the provision of illegal childcare. And also, critically, the bill had a requirement that MSD come up with a complaint ranking system so that there could be an ordering to the way that issues arose in childcare. This came out of this OPEGA report that we got last fall, which suggested that there's only two basic rankings that MSDE does. A lot of that stuff has been amended out of the bill in the amendments that are before us. But happy to pause for a sec if anyone has any questions about the bill as it came in. No, okay. So as amended, so struck the stuff that was duplicative of Delegate Miller and Senator Henson's bill. It also removed the 1-year regulation penalty thing. Instead, there is now a grace period that is set by MSDE for newly adopted regulations. However, MSDE is able to remove that grace period if they would like to, in cases of emergency or clash with federal law or the health and safety of a kid. The emergency contact info piece is left in. The uniform complaint process piece is left in. The requirement that teachers and childcare centers complete an active training is left in, but the specific hourly requirements of that were in the original bill have been removed, and it is only required to start in fiscal year 2028, a year after the bill goes into effect. Finally, rather than create a work group to study illegal childcare, there's a requirement that the State Department of Education, along with the Office of Child Care Advisory Council, jointly review the impact of Excel's rating reductions on child care providers and the experiential requirements that child care providers are required to do, taking into account as they do the OPEGA evaluation that came out last fall. So that is the extent of the amendments, Madam Chair.
Is there a motion of the amendments?
Move the amendments.
Is there a second? Second. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Delegate Miller.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, so that last part that you were talking about, Alistair, is that on the very last page of the bill about the Excels?
That's right.
and that would cover the illegal childcare part as well, would be all wrapped up in that one part.
Yeah, they would be using the OPEGA report, which I think the recommendations that the OPEGA report made were like half of them were focused on the child care scholarship program, some of which were taken care of in our earlier House bills this session. And then illegal childcare was part of it. Your bill was actually part of it. The creating a centralized background check hub was part of it. And another thing was creating a uniform complaint process and correctly ordering the way complaints are. So those things, in doing this evaluation, they would take those recommendations and the general study and findings of the OPEGA report into account.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the amendments, please raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that is unanimous. Okay, got a little bit of a delay here, folks. Sorry. Is there a motion to move the bill as amended?
So
So
moved.
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 Okay.
Second.
Second.
Second, moved and seconded. Thank you very much, colleagues. All those, any discussion before we go? Okay. All those in favor of the HB 1574 as amended, please say aye or raise your right hand.
Aye.
Aye, okay, and that is unanimous. Hey, folks, thank you for your flexibility and your cooperation, and that is all for our agenda, and I'll see you on the floor.
Okay.